Welcome to Dialed In RC. I'm your host, the RC Guru. This is a DialedInTV.com production. I'm getting ready for the outdoor season now. It's January, it's still cold in the Philadelphia area. It's still a little bit of snow flurries around, but the next thing you know, the turnaround and spring will be here. So I'm going to get my fifth scale ready by overhauling it. I'm going to comb over the car. I'm going to check the shocks, check the wheel bearings, check the air filter, check the gasoline lines, make sure that the fuel pump is pressurized and things of that nature. I'm going to oil the cylinder head to make certain that when I crank this motor up the first time in the spring season, in the outdoor season, that motor's going to have, that piston's going to have a lot of oil circulating around that piston ring, and that crank is going to be well lubricated as that gasoline mixes into that cylinder head and the explosion takes place from the spark plug. I'm glad that you guys are here with me. Thank you for tuning in. Stay tuned because we're going to dig right into it. As you can see here, this is my fifth scale. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the body. I'm going to examine the body. The body's good. I like the ride height. I want to check the shocks, right? Right there. You know, I'm checking the shocks. It's rocking up and down, forward and backwards like that. Then I check side to side. I do the rear passenger side and the driver's side of the car, and I rock it to see if it's going to tilt on this angle and that angle like that, so I can make certain that I got this thing going on right, that suspension is responding when it loads one side at the front, loads the other side at the front while it's going into a left and right turn. I hope you guys enjoy the show. Let's get right into the action. I want to keep these body pins nearby because it's going to be time to close it back up. Then I want to find the wrench that goes to the rear wing. That's the wing that gives me the downforce that's needed so that the vehicle doesn't slide out in the corners. Let's see if this is the key that matches that one. Sweet! That's just the right key right there. I got this new set of Allen wrenches, and they're in the L shape, nice and long. If you can get the long version, you want to get a nice long version. You guys can see that right there, right? That's nice and long. Want to make sure you get that. These are the screws in the back that hold the wing down. One of them is a beveled washer that goes on like that, and it puts pressure right there on the wing. Stops the wing from tilting and sliding around, you know, when it's under forces. So we want to take that, put that there. I just want you guys to see that. Make sure that those screws, you want to examine the threads and make certain that the threads are not worn now, like that. So I'm looking at the threads. Threads look good. They look really good. Here, so as you can see, the wing has these little air release pockets in the rear of it. So if it's too much downforce, and it was too much downforce in the beginning, so what we did was we carved out the opening there, which gave us less drag, faster car, and that's just how it goes. All right, we want to remove these spacers, and voila, here we go. The body comes off. Got to do a little bit of finagling to get it off, but hello, mellow. And just for you guys to know, I have a little trap door on the top of this body right here as well. I'll tell you what that trap door is about when I get ready to reassemble the vehicle. Okay, so we've got that done, and we'll lie that body right down. Now, here's where the magic is. As you can see inside of my vehicle here, I'm going to point out a few things. I could use these large wrenches as pointers. Hey, that'd be pretty good. Let's try that. I'm going to use this one here, like that, and it can serve as a pointer. Now, okay, here's my pointer. Nice little, I tell you, I got a great set of these over the winter time. So one of the things that I want to do, first of all, is take off the wheels. Take off the wheels. I got some brand new rubber going on here. Alright. So we'll sit that wing back there. We have these screws over here. We want to make certain that we don't lose them. They're very vital. Take off our nuts for the wheels here, wheel nuts, and they're pretty large. As you can see, they're pretty large in comparison to a finger. That's pretty large, isn't it? Yeah. So we'll use those, and we'll place those down yonder like so. How's about I'm wondering if I could leave these pins here. Now, I don't want to leave too much stuff on the table. I want to have access to this table entirely as I work through this combing and getting ready for the season. So off one, off two. Now what I like to do is once I get these tires off, I'm examining my tread, making certain that my tread on the tire is nice and full. I want to make sure I got some good rubber for the season. That looks like a pretty good tread right about there. So we're going to be able to work with that. Front, we examine the front. Nice tread. And make sure that the insert, the foam insert inside is also good, because you don't want to get flat spots on the tire. So if I hit like that, it's pretty good. Almost got a little drum tone there. Now we're gonna prop that side up, and we'll prop that side up. Simple as that. I like to have the big tire in the front and the little tire in the back. How about that? I'm going to take both tires off for right now. Let's do that, because then I can determine to use them both. So now this mother is a nice, good 35 pounds or more, 40 pounds, this vehicle here. So you want to know, you might be getting some real good shots of the rear of the car right here. I know you can see some of that. Loosening up the wheel lugs. There you go. So this is all part of preparing yourself for racing. If you don't do this kind of stuff, it'll haunt you. You know how you can have a good day going, the weather's good, you got to the track on time, with enough time to practice or do whatever you want to do in the beginning while you're on the track, and everything seems to be like it's a great day. And then all of a sudden, your vehicle begins to fall apart. You're not having any fun. That's because you didn't do this. If you do this, then you find things that could go wrong, and you try to rectify them before they become an issue for you. And so that's why we get ourselves together like this. Now, I don't know if you guys were tuned in last season. I'm going to use the front tires, take it down a little bit lower. I don't know if you guys are tuned in, but last summer season, we had this vehicle here, and we took it out, and the first run, the inaugural run, I showed you that the transmission blew up on it, dropped the gear internally as opposed to externally. I'd rather drop her gear internally. No, I'd rather drop her gear externally than to have one drop internally. Because internally means you got to really take loose a whole lot more screws and things of that nature. Now I heard something fall over there. Okay, now that was the pin. You've got to be certain about these pins here. These pins are the pins that lock your rear axle. So sometimes when you take these rear axles off, you got to be certain that you don't lose this pin. This steel pin slides right through this axle like that, and it locks it in the rear so that you can have the traction that's needed. And that's what fell out. And I don't like to leave the tires off for that one reason right there. You lose that pin, you go out, sit the car down, the car's running good on the table, on the stand, or whatever you're using. It's running really good. It looks like it's running. You put it down on the ground and it goes nowhere. If those pins are not in, the axles are just spinning inside of this hub. Now what I can see here from the eye and naked is there's a lot of debris right on the rear axle. I'll turn this to the front for you guys so I can show you what I'm going to do. Alright, I didn't notice it before, but now I noticed it. I'm going to deal with it. Alright, right in here, inside this area, all around here, is a lot of fine dirt and dust. I don't care if it's fine dirt or dust. First thing I'm going to do is get my brush out, and I'm going to start brushing it off. Get that out of there. Because dirt and debris, it does two things. It gets inside of the ball bearings and the oils and things of that nature. And once you get dirt inside of your ball bearings, they don't spin as free. And not only do they not spin as free, but they also, due to the fact that there's so much crud and corrosion inside the track where the steel bearings roll around on, and they cause the bearing to seize, different ones seize at different moments in time, and you know, the lubrication, but it causes it to overheat, cause the bearing to overheat. Most of these bearings are in nylon cupped bearing cases, and you don't want that to heat up because nylon is just a rough and rugged plastic. It's one of the most durable plastics, but you still don't want to heat up plastic because plastic and heat usually gives you a meltdown point. So I try to keep that dust and debris off of there like that. And now, once I look at that and I see that side and I say, well, I want to get that out of there. That's what I'm doing. You know, it's all falling on the table. It's really, really gross. I mean, I didn't even expect it to be like that, but that's from last season. But the one thing about it is that this is what I got from the entire season, which is not bad. I guess I was, you know, if you stay on the race line, on the surface of the racetrack, stay on the race line, you get less debris pickup, less dust, less metal particle pickups, all of that kind of stuff. So, as I go through there, that side looks really, really good. I know you guys can see that, right? You can see that all down in there. So, we'll brush that off as much as we can. I mean, you can, if you have an air compressor, or you go to, let's say a Wawa or a service station, tire repair center, ask them if you could use their air compressor and shoot some air, and it's a lot less than the brush. I do that as well. I mean, the brush is the physical aspect of it, what you can do in the environment that you're in. You always want to do something. You don't want to just neglect your vehicle's maintenance. So that's number one. That's for all you young RCers out there. You little guys, you know, we call you young guns, pee-wee runners. You guys always never neglect your RC maintenance. Take the time. It's well worth it. Your vehicle will run a lot better and you'll have less breakdowns. You'll be going to mom and dad less, asking them to purchase replacement parts because you did your maintenance on your vehicle. Okay, so we got that side done. We want to reverse to the opposite side, and it's like sort of down the opposite end from our close angled camera. But if I slide it down a little bit, you can still see me. And if I angle it over that way like that, maybe you can still see what I'm doing. I'm working on the rear hub axle housing. Oh yeah, this is really corroded in here. I mean, this has a lot more debris and metal filings and things like that come off the surface of the track, and I'm just trying to move it off of there. And of course, I'll get to the auto repair shop and I'll utilize the compressor and the air nozzle, and I'll do a secondary better job of getting some of that debris, those little metal pieces and things out of there. It's real good stuff. But you want to do this. I love doing this. I really do love doing this because I love having my vehicles run in tip-top shape. I don't like going to the racetrack and working on them. I really do really fine-tuning according to the course that I'm on, if it's a different course. But if it's the same course and you've already got a good setup tuning on it, there's no need to keep fiddle-faddling with your setup. What you really need to do, all you young guns out there and pee-wee runners, you really need to practice. Practice time, practice time, practice time. Get out there with your vehicle. Learn your vehicle's limits, and learn your vehicle's strong points and the weak points and things of that nature. And don't worry too much about what everybody else is talking about in the setup of this and the setup of that. Get you some miles under your belt. Get you some, you know, like they call frequent flyer miles. You need to get you some frequent RC track miles. And that does better than any setup. I know guys who they don't even know anything about setups, and we call them hitmen. We call them spoilers, and I used to be a spoiler myself. You know, I didn't know much about radio control tuning. You get that over time. However, I knew racing strategy. I knew that when you started off in a race, you needed to have a good start, you needed to maintain, and you needed to hit your mark. So I knew all of that. So when I went in, I didn't have a lot of tuning skills, and guys were very, very proficient at tuning vehicles. They knew stuff that I couldn't even identify. I didn't even know the technobabble. I didn't even know the language, the jargon of the RC maintenance and technical stuff. So I was a type of guy who I just wanted to get in a race, survive the race, and at the end of the race, let the cards fall where they may, but don't mess up myself. Don't take myself out the race. So I used to spoil a lot of guys that had a whole lot of technical knowledge and savvy. And they really, when I showed up, they feared me when I showed up. When I showed up and they were there, I just said, he's here. You know, and that's about it. But those guys, they knew that any given day, if they dropped the ball, yours truly was going to pick it up. And I usually did. So I won. And then after I began seeing that these guys were more intimidated with me and my driving and where I would finish at the end of the day, then I started learning what they knew. And then that gave me the edge. Not only was I a threat, but I was a formidable threat at everywhere I went because I applied some of the knowledge that they had. I had learned it. And so there's always room in everything in life for knowledge. The knowledge that you get, you can keep. Even with this vehicle right here, this is something else. Okay, so I got that done. So that's the back of that there. And I got that taken care of. What I want to show you is some of these features in this vehicle. This right here is my receiver. This is what the transmitter sends out a pulse signal to, and it is received by this one box here. This box that I have here, as you guys can see, I have this box sitting on a surrounded by cushion and sitting in cushion. Now the reason why I have that is because these engines here, these are two-stroke gasoline engines. And while I'm talking about the two-stroke gasoline engine, I'm going to take the spark plug wire off and sort of clean the top of the engine right there, since I'm going to be touching it, and besides I'm going to have to be going down that area. Okay, so I cleaned up my axle back there. That's all good. But this two-stroke engine is a real gasoline engine. It has horsepower ratings. It puts out carbon monoxide, and it breathes air just like a regular car. And what happens is it's got so much power, it vibrates the entire car. Not only does it vibrate, but when it gets up into its power band, and that's its horsepower maximum rating, it begins to set off a frequency. This is stuff that it's called harmonics, okay, in an engine. It's the timing within the engine, the timing of the spark and the air mixture with the crank, distance traveling up and down. It's a lot of technological things, but it sets off a frequency band, which sometimes, along with the vibration of the engine rattling because there's so much horsepower, and this is real horsepower, this is not a simulated horsepower, this is real horsepower. If it's rated to 9 horsepower, it's 9 horses galloping at once. Okay, so you need to understand that. And what happens is, through the harmonics of the pitch that the exhaust makes, the sound of the firing, an explosion, and of course you get a compression ring. Like with every explosion, you got your bang, and then you have like this invisible wave. For all you little guys, you know, all you young guns, you pee-wee runners, it's like a wave. It's like you can feel pressure coming. Well, that pressure also goes into everything that's on the vehicle. It bypasses, it spreads out. And so sometimes it interferes with the signal, because the signal is electronic sound wave, and it's traveling through the air, which is just what a frequency is. Same thing as your bass and your guitar, your electric guitar and your bass, and everything that makes a sound has a sound wave. Okay, and so sometimes while the radio signal is coming in and the sound wave is going out, sometimes it can cause a interference where it meets at the same frequency band, and thereby you miss a signal, which might have been make a left turn, might have been apply the brake for a split millisecond. It may take place in 0.1 of a second. You wouldn't notice it, but with these vehicles, with an electric vehicle, you wouldn't notice this as much. With a little tip scale vehicle, you wouldn't notice it as much. But with these large 40-pound, 9 horsepower running cars, very loud, in some cases you need earplugs in your ear in order to operate them because they're so loud, sort of like your motocross motorcycles, and you have to be mindful of that. Okay, so that's why this is in cushion. That's why that's in cushion. So, now that we're here, let me see if I can take a look at the spark plug. And while I'm taking a look at the spark plug, I can lubricate the piston head, because that's going to need to be done as well. So I might as well try and get into that. And with that, I'm going to use my Craftsman ratchet. And I'm going to go in here like so and break that loose. Now, since I know I have to put it back in, I'm going to loosen that up. And so that's what you see me doing. I'm going to switch it around to this end since you guys are on that end. Remembering this is 40 pounds. Look, don't do this without, don't do this at home, Viewer discretion is advised. If you're going to lift, use your legs, not your shoulders, your neck, and your back like I just did. But that's for you, little guys. We don't want you to get hurt while you're enjoying this hobby. Okay, here is my spark plug. And as you can see, there's the spark plug right there. All right, that's what's going on. Nice, clean. There's not a lot of debris. There's not a lot of oil. There's not a lot of oil around that plug. There's not a lot of charcoal around that plug. That's a pretty good burn right there. So now that we've done that, we might as well go ahead and get this after run oil. After run oil. It's just basically the same oil that you would mix with the gasoline, because this is a gasoline and oil mixture 2-stroke engine. And I would take and I'll put like maybe 5 drops of oil in there. Alright, now that's all you do. 5 drops of oil, bloop, 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 right down in there like that. And then I want to pull the crank like that. Just pull the crank and circulate that oil. Just like that. Okay, that's it, see? Now, that has put oil inside of my cylinder head. It's seeping down around the cylinder ring. And now I'm going to put the spark plug back in. Simple as that. Okay? There you go. Nice and tight. As you guys can see, I have piping that comes from the front end of the vehicle, sucking in air, going down into this section of the vehicle, because right here, right there, okay, that tube is running from there all the way down there. It's grabbing air from the front of the body, and this is my brake assembly here. That's what this is. That's my brake assembly. That's where, when I throw the brakes on the car, that squeezes those 2 plates, brake shoe pads. They push in on the rotor, and when they close in on the rotor in between here like this, they prevent the rotor from rotating. So that's how your brake pads work. You got a inside and outside brake pad on a rotor buildup. So, okay, we've done that with our spark plug. So we've got the spark plug ready. We've got the rear axles and things of that together. We did that. That's a done deal. Okay, we're now going on to the next thing. We know that our radio is fine because it's in the cushion. It's nothing to go wrong in that area right there. We check our bearings to the front wheels. They're free spinning. I have a little bit of play over here and less over there, so I want to get some shims on that side. I want to put some shims on that side, so that's what I'm going to do in the next episode. But what I'm going to do right now